All right, let's talk Wes Anderson, a very unique filmmaker, a very fun filmmaker to talk about, and I figured I gotta make a tier list of him. I just finished up his filmography, so yeah, without further ado, let's get into the list, although to set things, I guess, at a little bit more further ado, I suppose. First off, I should mention I am on Letterboxd. If you want to follow me on Letterboxd, Jackson Kruger is my name on there, so you can search there if you want to. I actually have all these ranked, so if you want to see my actual rankings as opposed to just the tier rankings, you can check out my, a list I made on Letterboxd of that. But yeah, let's set up the tiers that I'm going to have. And I just wanted to remind everyone, because some people on the Kubrick tier list, some people get really angry. I don't know why. We're having fun talking about movies. I don't get what the frustration is. But for those of you who respectfully disagree, that's of course totally fine. But just want to remind everyone, this is based on my personal opinion on these movies. That's all it is. So there is no way to objectively say one movie is better than the other. It's all subjective. But to set up the tier rankings, first there is on the obituary. This is the movies that when someone dies, you say the person who made this movie, and this movie has passed away. These are the top movies, the ones you're known for. Then there's in the box set, when you make like 7 movies by Wes Anderson or whatever, it's the top ones, and then also these ones are the ones that go in there. You then have still really good, maybe movies that aren't quite that top tier, but still movies that when you put on, you're like, man, this is great. Then finally, not his best, and then one to forget. Those are the tiers, and I don't think Wes Anderson has made a bad movie. I really don't. So, or at least a worthless movie, maybe is the way to say it. There is going to be a lot of different opinions. I think people that, depending on what you like in a movie, some people might love his later stuff and hate his earlier stuff. Some people might love his earlier stuff and hate his later stuff. Let's get into the list. We're going to go in chronological order, and you'll kind of be able to get my opinion on him as a whole. Starting off with Bottle Rocket, a movie that, again, I was curious when I did my Kubrick ranking. I was surprised to see some people, how some people disagreed with certain aspects of the list, and I was kind of surprised. Like, oh, I didn't realize people like this movie a lot more than I realized. So I'm checking out the letterbox where these movies are ranked. I was surprised Bottle Rocket is Wes Anderson's second lowest rated movie. It still has a pretty solid rating. It's like 3.5, but I was surprised by that because I really like Bottle Rocket. I should mention, I get it. I get why it's not everyone's favorite Wes Anderson movie. It doesn't have a ton of the Wes Anderson tropes that you're typically used to. It does get a bit muddled, especially towards the middle, but there's just a lot of heart in this, and it's interesting seeing the beginning of his career where it is so character driven. I mean, it's a character movie with you have Luke Wilson and Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson was originally Wes Anderson's writing partner on the first 3 movies that Wes Anderson made. Owen Wilson has the writing credit on, and it really is about the relationship between those two friends. They weren't brothers in the movie. I never understand why Wes Anderson or seemingly, I don't know if it's Owen Wilson or what, but they never let them be brothers. They're always like friends. I never get that. I really like Bottle Rocket. In fact, I kind of love. I don't know. It's a movie that really works for me. In fact, I'm even willing to put it all the way up in the box set. I think the characters are great. Yes, it is a bit muddled and rough around the edges, but when you have that much heart in a movie, I'm still gonna really enjoy it. So yeah, that's where I have that. And then let's go to Rushmore, Wes Anderson's second movie, which again, there's a lot of heart in this. It's kind of Wes Anderson experimenting with kind of not the most likable characters, because like in Bottle Rocket, okay, Owen Wilson's character is certainly flawed, but he still gets you to like him, and then Luke Wilson's character is mostly just pretty good, right? In Rushmore, I mean, Jason Schwartzman is not a likable character. He isn't. He's kind of an annoying kid, but again, you do start to like him and start to feel for him as the movie goes along. Because of the, it's really funny. I mean, it's one of his funniest movies for sure. Because of, I feel like, again, just my personal opinion, I don't fully connect with the Jason Schwartzman character the way I do the Wilsons in Bottle Rocket. I still think there's a lot of really good stuff in Rushmore, and for some other people, it would be a box set movie. I'm gonna put it in still really good. That's just how I view it. But it's, again, there's a lot to like about Rushmore, and there's even more to like about Wes Anderson's next movie, The Royal Tenenbaums, in my opinion. I'm just going to start off by saying I think this is his best movie. It's not not everyone would say that. In fact, again, I looked up the Letterboxd thing. It is currently Wes Anderson's third highest ranked movie, so we'll get to the top two as we get further along. I think it's his best. I think it's kind of the perfect blend of, you get the Wes Anderson style, but it never feels like too much, and you still have the incredible characters and the incredible heart in this movie, leading up to the Ben Stiller, I've had a really tough year, Dad line, which is like one of the most devastating lines and like one of the most powerful lines in a film, period, and the way it's all done in kind of a wide shot. Apparently Ben Stiller wanted a more close-up there, but Wes Anderson said, like, no, this is how we're doing it, and I think Wes Anderson was right. So much of these characters just feel so... It's interesting, because saying they feel real isn't the correct way to say it, right? They don't feel real, but they kind of do. You get it. They feel like at least extensions of reality, and while maybe not every aspect of them, certainly as part of it is bubbly and over the top, I feel like the heart and their feelings always feel real. I think that's what Royal Tenenbaums gets, is you always feel like each of the characters, you get why they feel that way, and you also feel the way that they feel. Wes Anderson said that in his previous movies, he always felt like none of his characters were ever actually in risk of dying. He never felt like any of the characters could actually die with those movies. He wanted to make a movie that you could feel like someone could potentially die. There is a dark undertone throughout this movie. It never goes too dark. I mean, it goes kind of dark. I would say it goes dark actually at points, but it never stays in a dark place for too long. But like, there is that dark underbelly of this movie throughout, and kind of contrasted with the lightness and the funness of it. It's one that, if you have not seen all of Wes Anderson's work, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. I really do think it is his magnum opus, in my opinion. Again, these are just my opinions on it, and Letterboxd says there's a couple movies that are better, which I like those movies too. We'll talk about them, but not quite yet. Let's instead now get to The Life Aquatic, another movie I really like. So this is not Owen Wilson. This is his first time working with Noah Baumbach, who is, obviously known for some really great films, The Squid and the Whale, Marriage Story, but has co-written a couple of movies with Wes Anderson. Kind of a fun fact about Wes Anderson, he doesn't have a single movie where he has sole writing credit. I think a lot of people don't realize that, but every movie he's made, there is someone else with a writing credit. This time it is Baumbach. And while I wouldn't say this is my favorite film, I do think there is kind of a brilliance to it. I do think that, once again, kind of the Owen Wilson character, it's interesting how Owen Wilson not writing this one's still in it. It really kind of, the way he goes and kind of the way that his, I won't spoil it, but how it ends with that character really kind of makes this film so much more powerful. Again, kind of similar to the Royal Tenenbaums, sort of this dark underbelly a little bit, but still like keeping a mostly fun tone. There's some really just funny jokes in this one. This one might be... Is it a hot take to say it's his funniest movie? It's up there. I think it's really funny. Again, it's not one that, looking at the Letterboxd ratings, it's kind of in the middle, which I can understand. I really enjoy The Life Aquatic. Again, I think this is one where people will disagree. I'm gonna put it in the box set though. I think it's really great. And again, I love movies that feel like they're totally its own thing. There's nothing else like it. There's nothing else like The Life Aquatic. Yeah, I'm putting that one there. And then we have the Darjeeling Limited. Not sure if I pronounced it right, but that is the movie. And this is another one where we have Wes Anderson working with new writers. So made his first three movies with Owen Wilson, then works with Noah Baumbach, and now it's Jason Schwartzman has a writing credit, and also Roman Coppola, who would become a kind of a long time writing partner with Wes Anderson. We'll talk about him more later, but this is their first. And I think that the Darjeeling Limited is a movie where you start to see there's been a gradual Wes Andersoning of all of his movies up until this point. I think this one goes a step beyond. I do think that this one is kind of a full Wes Anderson movie. When you think of Wes Anderson, this one is now in that, where I think the other ones prior had Wes Anderson-y moments, but didn't fully feel full Wes Anderson just yet. I do think that we are kind of smack dab in this era of Wes Anderson. It's not Grand Budapest Hotel just yet, but there is a lot of symmetrical stuff. There is a lot of just whimsicalness to it. Another movie with a dark underbelly, and this is something that we see Wes Anderson, and honestly, I think this one's just a dark movie a lot of times. Like, I think that kind of, what I love about the Royal Tenenbaums is, as I mentioned, it doesn't let it stay too dark for too long. This one will have its moments where it stays dark for a while, and to be honest, that's kind of my favorite part of this movie, is those dark moments, and kind of the Owen Wilson character. It's funny how he seems to be centered around so much of the great stuff in Wes Anderson's work, but that Owen Wilson character, I really do think, does so much heavy lifting in this film, and I really think is kind of brilliant in a lot of ways. Definitely another funny movie. There's, a lot of people talked about maybe some problematic aspects of it. I'm not sure if I'm the guy to dive too deep into that, so I won't. But I'm in between for where I put this on the list. Still really good, and in the box set, I think I'm going to go still really good. I think I like Bottle Rocket and Life Aquatic a little more, but it's great. Very, very strong movie. If you, again, for Wes Anderson, really, like I think especially the early stuff, if you haven't seen any of these, check them out. They're great. We then have Fantastic Mr. Fox. I've had this is on Letterboxd his highest rated movie. I there was a point when I think I agreed with that. In fact, when I watched this when I was, 20, it was like one of my favorite movies. I was like, this is fantastic. I watched it again actually just earlier this year, and I wasn't quite as into it, I have to say. I don't know exactly what it was. I still really enjoyed it. There's a lot of really, again, it's very funny. There are some like really like kind of like I think interesting things about like life in this movie that kind of just sort of come and go, and it's like you don't have to pay attention to those things, but if you do, like, they're there and they are fascinating. This is also, of course, I think should be mentioned, Wes Anderson's first time working with stop motion animation, which is something that we will see him go back to. He's really good at it. It really works a lot of time. I think in some ways this almost kind of led to him kind of creating these types of sets in real life in future movies, but the animation is fantastic. It's another Noah Baumbach written movie, and I do think you do feel some of the Baumbach stuff when you watch it. And there's a lot of interesting things about how he went about filming this, or like recording the audio, I should say, where like they would have, I think there's a clip of George Clooney being on a motorcycle, like as they're recording audio of him saying his lines. It's interesting. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but he felt like it was. I think Fantastic Mr. Fox has to be an obituary film. Even though I wasn't quite as into it the second time I watched it, I still really enjoyed it, and I can't deny how much it meant to me when I watched it when I was like 20, which is nearly 10 years ago. I don't want to think about that too much. I'm 29 now, so try to just move on from that as quick as possible. But again, even when I watched it this time, I still did really enjoy it. So yeah, I think On the Obituary is how I would view that. Next up, he made Moonrise Kingdom, and this one is kind of a return to his roots a little bit, and almost feels like a bit mismatched when you compare like the ones around it, especially, the next one, which we'll get into. There is a big jump, I would say. This is kind of the last Wes Anderson movie where some shots feel like regular movies. Like, it feels like after this movie, you watch 30 seconds of any of the next movies and you're just immediately like, oh, that's a Wes Anderson movie, right? Like, this one still has some of the, like, it's not 100% Wes Anderson. It's like 80% Wes Anderson, I suppose. And actually, might be a little dialed back. Might be like 60% of the Wes Anderson style compared to, like, Fantastic Mr. Fox or the Darjeeling Limited. I really like Moonrise Kingdom. It's one I should probably do a rewatch on. It has been a couple years since I've seen it, but I think it's really strong. It's the fourth most movie that or fourth highest rated movie according to Letterboxd. I'm not quite that high on it. I think it's really good, though. I think that it's a movie that does kind of have a really great climax. I think the way the character arcs works for me. I think it's a really strong movie. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna maybe this is the hot. I guess it's not really a hot take, right? If it's that high on Letterboxd, I'll say it's his. In the box set. I think it's very good. Next up, we have The Grand Budapest Hotel, which I think there are two movies that people will say are his magnum opus. Or I guess there's really three, I would say. I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is one, I think Grand Budapest is one, and I think Royal Tenenbaums is one. And I really like Grand Budapest. I'm going to put it all the way in the top tier as well. I think that it is a really strong movie, and it's funny because I've talked about how a little bit on this channel, how I don't love when Wes Anderson goes full Wes Anderson. It's not my favorite. I prefer usually a Bottle Rocket or a Royal Tenenbaums or a Fantastic Mr. Fox to his newer stuff. But you can't deny the Grand Budapest Hotel. If you like the newer stuff, this is the one for you. And if you're not crazy about it, it's still really good. I think part of it is just how fresh it felt, and to some degree, I think each of his last few movies are sometimes maybe, it feels like the same style, but kind of misses, to me, what I love about Grand Budapest Hotel, which again, it all comes back to character. I think the main protagonist of the protagonist of Grand Budapest is such a great character that I just love all the other stuff that comes along with it, and it's so whimsical. I mean, the shots are completely symmetrical, and the camera movements, it's all the Wes Anderson style, and the way that it's sort of, there's different aspect ratios, and it's told with it's in a book, but then it's a story, and there's all these different layers, which Wes Anderson does so frequently in his work, but it all just really works well in this one. I think it's based off of a writer, so it's Stefan Zweig is maybe how you say his name, who also is gets a writing credit on this one. Interestingly enough, Hugo Guinness, who I couldn't actually tell if it was a writer credit or just a story credit on it. Interesting enough there. So again, keeping note tabs on all that stuff, which is interesting to me. But yeah, Grand Budapest, it's a totally fantastic movie. I think really works for what it's trying to do. And then we go on to Isle of Dogs, or I Love Dogs, if you want to call it that as well. It's one that, again, so we're going back to Roman Coppola and Jason Schwartzman, those three writing this one together. And this is, some people really like Isle of Dogs as well. Some people love this movie. This is where Wes Anderson starts to lose me. I think it's too much for me. There's too much going on, and I don't really connect with. I do like the main dog character a bit, but I don't connect with any of the other characters, to be honest. They kind of just feel like I don't know, there to serve a purpose. There's a lot going on. The animation is so good, and it is again another really funny movie. So, like I said, I don't think Wes Anderson has made a movie that I don't like, but this one is not my favorite Wes Anderson movie. In fact, I'm not even going to put it in still really good. I think I'm going to put it in not his best. It's going to be a hot take. I know a lot of people really love this movie. I'm just not one of those people. So again, there's so much to like about it, and I can see why some people love it. And it's still one that I have my notes up. I just have the IMDb page up, and I'm just looking at some of the animation. I'm like, this is the best looking movie ever. It looks so good, but it is just, it's not my favorite. So again, maybe I should need to change the tier list names to make it more clear. But for me, it's not his best because I don't love some of the characters. I just don't love the characters, and it doesn't fully, it feels like it's trying to do too much, and I like it kind of a little bit more stripped down. It's a personal preference, but that's how I view it. Moving on to The French Dispatch. This is his third lowest film according to Letterboxd, and I should mention, meant to mention this at the start. I'm of course only doing the feature-length movies. I'm not doing any of the shorts because that's just kind of how I thought. He's done a decent amount of shorts. I didn't want to watch all those, and it would get muddled. So we're just doing the feature-length ones. So in terms of feature-length movies, this is his third lowest rated. It's interesting because I to be honest, so I remember when I was watching it, I had heard that it wasn't his best. In fact, I actually just recently watched this one. For whatever reason, this was my last Wes Anderson one to watch. I missed it when it was in theaters, so I watched it recently. I heard it wasn't his best, though, and I think that's why I kind of didn't rush out to see it. But eventually I figured, okay, well, I want to finish his filmography. I'll check it out. And the first story, that prison storyline, I was like, what are people complaining about? This is great. This is like classic Wes Anderson. The character, the Del Toro character is awesome here. Benicio Del Toro, like fantastic. Like I love the story and what it represents, about like how people are, he's just trying to be an artist. People kind of take that and try to find ways to make money out of it, and like the consumerism nature of it and all that. And then it just like ends. I think Wes Anderson got bored of it sooner than I did, because I would have loved to watch 90 minutes of that. The other stuff, I'm not saying it was bad, but it just didn't really connect with me at all, the other two stories, that much. It kind of felt like, to be honest, I think maybe his like worst hour of film that he has had in this. At the same time, that first 30 minutes is so good, I can't put it in the one to forget category. And even the second, the last hour to the second two stories, like they weren't bad. They were just bad by his standards, in my opinion. I loved that first chunk. It's still one that I'll probably go back and rewatch and just turn it off once that first section ends, I think. Some great acting in it, but again, the only real character, there was good characters in the first part, and then I would actually say there were interesting characters throughout, but just none I really cared about once Benicio del Toro's character went off screen. So yeah, disappointing for me, but not his best in my opinion. And then we have Asteroid City, another one where, like I said, we're getting into the Wes Anderson kind of style of, he is just fully going Wes Anderson at this point. I meant to mention Roman Coppola and Hugo Guinness are both both have writing credits on French Dispatch. Coppola also has a writing credit on Asteroid City. Asteroid City is Wes Anderson's lowest rated movie on Letterboxd. I did not expect that. I assumed it would be, I kind of assumed it'd be French Dispatch or maybe Bottle Rocket. I was surprised Asteroid City, but I'm not going to fight it too much. There's great stuff there. The alien scene is hilarious. Like that's a great scene in it. But yeah, it's just, again, it's similar to my concerns with Isle of Dogs. There's just too much going on. There's a lot of interesting stuff, but at least with some of the other things, like Grand Budapest, there is an interesting story to attach it to. I've never been crazy about Wes Anderson's themes. I think that his thematic stuff, when he gets too thematic, it kind of loses me a little bit. I like some of the themes, but usually I like when the themes are kind of created through characters. Asteroid City kind of struggles with the characters, in my opinion. I'm not crazy about really any of the characters. I don't connect with them, and I think it hurts the movie to sort of say, okay, well, this is, it's a play, and what you're seeing is just a play, and it's a recreation of the play, and it's so meta, it's hard to really feel anything about the characters, because the movie is telling you that they don't matter, so, like, why should I care? It's one of the best looking movies ever. It's incredible looking, and I think that's definitely a big part of its saving grace, is that and the humor in it. But it just doesn't do much else for me. It really is kind of hollow in that sense. I don't love the characters, and I don't really care about the plot too much. So, like, because there isn't a plot. So, like, what else? I shouldn't say there isn't a plot, but there isn't really a plot. It's not a movie that really works for me. And when you compare that to something like his first movie, Bottle Rocket, it's one that they're so different. I prefer the earlier stuff. Even if this newer stuff, it looks cleaner and looks more beautiful, it's just less interesting to me. So, not saying it's, again, devoid of stuff. There is a theme to it. And if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, like, check it out. There are thematic movies I love. This just isn't really one of them. It's not really a theme I care about too much. The alien's awesome. The performances are really, again, honestly, to be honest, the performances don't even really do that much for me. At least French Dispatch, I feel like they're doing interesting stuff. Feels like in Asteroid City, they're all trying to be like in a Wes Anderson movie, which isn't what I want. I want you to be a character. Like the earlier stuff, like the characters, like Royal Tenenbaums, how unique those performances are, then compared to Asteroid City. Again, there's good stuff in Asteroid City. I don't want to come off too harsh. It's not even my least favorite Wes Anderson movie. You can find out which one is if you go to my Letterboxd, of course. But it's just not a movie that works for me. So it's interesting with Anderson, looking at his whole list here. When it comes to the top stuff, there are things like throughout his filmography that I really love. I mean, Royal Tenenbaums is very early on. Grand Budapest is more later on, and Fantastic Mr. Fox is kind of in the middle. So it's not like the different styles, he can't reach high heights. You can reach high heights in all the different styles, but I think he misses a lot more when he goes for a Grand Budapest type of movie, or when he goes, like Isle of Dogs, French Dispatch, and Asteroid City. My least three favorite movies of his are the most recent three that he has made. That being said, like I said earlier, I don't think he's made a bad movie. Like, I'll just say it. If French Dispatch is my least favorite of his, I still give that like a 5 out of 10. Like, it's still like a fine movie. I just think that like it loses me towards the end. Like, I prefer one of the stories. So like, and like I said, I love that first 30 minutes. So even his the shorts, I haven't watched all of them, but the ones I have seen that he made recently, I haven't been crazy about those either. It's probably just a stylistic thing. It's probably personal preference, but for me, I definitely prefer earlier Wes Anderson. So I'm interested in seeing if you guys agree or disagree. So let me know in the comments below. Do you agree that Wes Anderson's stuff was better early on? Do you think I'm crazy? I'm going to assume I have a take or two here that you just straight up disagree with. I mean, it's a tier list. Like, that's what's going to happen. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.